Hey everyone, my name is Ronak back with another video, and this is 37th video in the Getting Started with the Machine Learning playlist, and in this video you are going to learn the ADA boost. We have finally came to the boosting techniques. In the earlier tutorials I have covered the bagging technique. So bagging is a form of an ensemble technique in which we actually learned the random forest. But from this video we are going to learn some of the boosting techniques. So let us get started. So first we have to learn what is ADA boost. It is an ensemble learning method. So just like the random forest, this is also an ensemble learning method in which we have a set of classifiers clubbed together in order to get the outcome. It is a boosting procedure. So in ensemble methods, we have two learning methodologies, one of which is known as bagging, which is also known as bootstrap aggregation, and another one is boosting. ADA boost is also known as adaptive boosting. So the boosting procedure in fact works with a set of weak learners which club together give us the best results. So the general classification values that you get are between, let's say, 0 to 1. But what if the prediction is in somewhere middle? So that is a weak classifier. Although we cannot use it in another cases, but in the case of ADA boost, we can actually use it. So boosting methodologies work by clubbing together each and every single weak learner. So one weak learner is evaluated, on the basis of which another weak learner is evaluated, and the chain goes on. So this chain actually helps you give a strong learner at the end of the algorithm. So I'll try to make ADA boost as simple as it can be, because there are many steps involved in this algorithm. So ADA boost does follow 6-step procedure. So we will look at each of the single step in detail. First step is initializing the sample weight. Second step is decision tree stumps building. Significance of evaluation is the third step. Fourth step is updating the weights. Fifth step is reforming the data. And sixth step is the forest prediction. So all of these might sound quite intimidating, but when I explain you with an example, it is going to be very easy. Let us start with the step 1, that is initializing the sample weights. So this is a simple binary classification data that I have, where we are looking forward to see if the car is good or not. So the measure of the car is given as false or true, which indicates that the car is bad or car is good. So this actually depends on the 3 features, which is sleek design, good suspension, and good mileage. So these 3 features impact the quality of the car. So we are going to decide whether the car is good or bad. Initializing the sample weights in the beginning is very easy. What we have to do is we have to say 1 by n, where n is the total number of samples. So we have 8 samples in our data set, which actually gives you 1 by 8 in each and every single row. So this is the way you do it. If you have 10, the value will be 1 by 10. If you have 4, the value will be 1 by 4. Step 2. So this is where you make decision tree stumps. I've actually covered decision tree in my earlier tutorials. So a lot of prerequisites are required for this tutorial. So you will require decision trees. You are going to require impurity indexing like Gini or entropy. So I'll link some cards, and I'll also put these tutorials in the description box below. You can check them. I've already covered them. So build a set of weak classifiers. That is the procedure that we start with the step 2, which is decision tree stumps. Decision tree with a depth of 1, alright, is an example of weak classifier. Since you cannot move ahead with the classification, we have to say that the depth 1 is the most basic kind of tree, where there is 1 root and 2 nodes, and both the nodes are leaf nodes. This type of decision tree is known as stump. Alright, so that tree is known as stump. So we are going to now build stumps. So the way we do it, what we are going to do is we are going to take each and every single feature and try to evaluate the class that we want to predict. So now we are going to take sleek design. If my car is sleek, yes and no, so there will be 2 possibilities. So if the car isn't sleek, obviously it says no, which indicates bad car, and good car is connected to it, where we can classify which of the samples come in the correct predictions and incorrect. So if we see, when the sleek design is no, in the first tuple over here, you can say the good car is false. So this is actually going to add 1 to the correct. Then we move on to the yes. So sleek car is yes. Okay, so it moves to the right side, where we have good car in the green color box that you can see, and it says false. Since the car is sleek and the car is not good, we are going to say incorrect is equal to 1. Similarly, you have to move on with each of the values. So here sleek car in the third tuple is no, and the car is good. So we are going to select car is no, and the car is good. Yeah. So we are going to do like that. I'll similarly repeat this process for good suspension and as well as for good mileage. So we have some set of values. Now the next step we want to do is calculate the Gini or entropy indexing for all of the trees and select the tree with the least impurity. So I have covered Gini and entropy and information gain all of the 3 videos in my earlier tutorials. So please go and watch those tutorials if you don't know what is Gini. It would be better if you have the prerequisites with you. I'll put the cards and the links in the description box below. Now we come to the step 3. So let us assume that there were 3 features that were good mileage. There were 3 features: sleek design, good suspension and good mileage. Let us assume that the Gini index that I wanted to find, the least impure, is the good mileage. So I'm going to select this one for our step 3, that is significance evaluation. So what is significance evaluation? The significance evaluation states that the feature that I've selected has some corresponding value that holds the power of the tree. Whenever I wanted to construct the tree, since the Gini impurity of the decision stump that I have of the good mileage is the least, I am going to select this one as the root node. So the significance evaluation or amount of say, also it is known as amount of say, we are going to perform the value of the good mileage. So the formula goes like 1/2 into log of 1 minus the total error divided by total error. Now you might be wondering what is total error. So total error is basically sum of the weights for incorrect samples. Now if you can see over here, the correct samples, if you actually count all of these samples, we have 8 samples. Just like we have 8 values in our table, in which incorrect value is 1. Here we have 0. Alright, so incorrect value is 1. So sum of the weights from incorrect samples. So that is 1/8. If the incorrect would have been 2, my total error would be 2/8. If the incorrect values would be 3, my value would be 3/8. So in the similar fashion, I am going to select now the total error. So my total error is 1/8 in this scenario, since I have selected the good mileage as my root, and my total error is 1/8 since we have only incorrect one value. So the amount of say that I'll be getting at the end is 0.973. Note, log value is always to the base of e, because many of the times even if you are looking forward to calculate log to the base value with 2, you are going to get value at 0.422. So that is quite much difference. So please understand this, the value to the base will be always in terms of e. Now we come to the 4th step, that is updating the weights. So updated weight is basically equal to sample weight into e raised to amount of say, which is also known as the significance value or significance evaluated value. See, there are many steps in this. So even if you don't understand this in one single go, you can always revisit the tutorial, and it is better, because many of the times it does happen that these algorithms are getting more complex and complex. You won't be able to grasp them in a single tutorial. So definitely you might have to revisit, but don't worry, but we are just going forward. Now if you try to see this video once again, once I complete this, it is going to be much more easier. Anyway, coming back to the topic. So updating the weights is equal to this formula, which is sample weight into e raised to amount of say. Now since I have all of the weights, I also have the significance evaluated value. I am going to update the weight of the value that is wrong. So updated weight is equal to finally 1/8, that is my sample weight, into e raised to 0.973, and the value that I get in the end is 0.33. So my weight has actually increased from 1/8. Since I had 1/8 in each and every single row, now the value that was incorrectly classified has the weight of 0.33, which has increased. So 1/8 is basically 0.125. So it has increased. Similarly, this is not where it ends. We also have to lower the weights of the correct samples. So the way we do it, instead of just positive sign, you have to make it negative. Alright, so sample weight into e raised to minus of amount of say. And when we do it, we get this value, which is 0.05. So from 0.125, our values have went to 0.05. Now if we look at the table, this is the way the updated weights would look. Alright, so there were sample weights of 0.125 in all of the rows. Now they have actually changed. So the value where my good mileage was not able to perform accurately, I'm going to say 0.33. That is where the weights have increased, and now from here we are going to update the weight and move ahead. Now we are coming to the step 4, where we want to update the weights. So the way we update the weight is with the help of adding all the updated weights, which actually gives us 0.68. If we add 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.33 plus 0.5, so these are all the 8 values, we get 0.68. So we have to normalize these weights. So those will be our updated weights. Normalization is required because we cannot have the perfect value. Now if I add all of my sample weights, the value that I'll get would be 1. Similarly, I want with in the case of the updated weights, and since all of the updated weights, when you do a summation of them, you are going to get 0.68, but we want 1. So the way we do it, I'll say normalized weights is equal to updated weights divided by addition of updated weights, and this is the thing we get. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to take all the value of 0.68, and then we are first going to divide over here, which is 0.05 divided by 0.68, we get 0.07. Similarly, I'll repeat the procedure till the end. So whenever I try to divide 0.33 by 0.68, I'm going to get 0.49, and similarly you have to do the division. Now we come to the step 5 where we have to reform the data. So we are going to take the cumulative weights. Now what is cumulative, you might ask? Cumulation is a process where you add with successive reformations. So 0.07 plus 0.07 in the next second step, which is 0.14, plus this 0.07 will be added, we get 0.21. Then we add 0.07 to 0.21, we get 0.28, then 0.35, 0.42, then we get 0.91, since we are adding 0.49 to 0.42 and we get 0.91, and finally we add 0.07 to 0.91 and we get 0.98. So this is where we are going to reform the data. This is step 5, and this is one of the most important steps. Now we have to make a similar data set using these cumulative weights. I'll show you how. So this is the data. The way I am now going to prepare it, what you will have to do, you will have to make a data for the 8 values. And the way I do it, I am going to arbitrarily select a random value between 0 to 1. So this value will be ranging from 0 to 1. So let's say I randomly take 0.39 in the first iteration. Alright, so there will be iterations for the number of samples. With each time a random weight will be selected. Now since I have my cumulative weights with a certain degrees, I am going to compare the 0.39, the randomly selected weight over here. So it actually falls before 0.42. So it is less than 0.42. This is the reason we took a cumulative weight sample, so that I can range my randomly selected value in a particular tuple and I can select that tuple. So this will actually be my first row. Similarly, I am going to repeat this procedure for all of the 8 values. Now let's say in the second sample, I am selecting 0.81, which actually falls in this range, which is 0.91, and that row has been added to the data. Similarly, I'll do this 8 times. So this is the way it looks. Okay, we reform the data. So if you see, when I had the good mileage where there was incorrect as 1 value, in this section, after selecting some random weight, my data is reoccurring 4 times in the reformed data. Now, what is the purpose of doing this, you may ask? The reason is, when I'm actually appending and reforming and increasing my data, my algorithm is going to carefully evaluate the next time. So in a similar fashion, it is basically learning from its own mistake. So the first decision tree that it was taken will be reconsidered, and now we have to calculate more carefully. So we are now going to repeat the procedures. So we are going to repeat from step 2 to the step 5 till the number of estimators we are going to say. So let's say I select 100 stumps. So this procedure will be repeated for 100 times. And every time this is going to improve, since a new Gini will be created, some new features will come into picture. New Gini will be created, some new features. So this is the way it learns. So let's say I have one stump which is 0.97 like we took in the first place. This is the second stump. This is the third stump. So there might be some weight on the stump which is going to affect the algorithm on a long run. So this actually moves in a particular fashion where each and every single tree is linked to each other, or I can say each and every stump is linked to each other, where it learns from its mistake and moves on. So this is the way the AdaBoost works. That is the reason it is known as adaptive boosting. Okay, there is adaptation in each and every single stump, and this is the way it learns. So there is a precedence order in which it is going to learn, and there will be some weights associated. So after my first tree, it is going to take the mistakes of my first tree where it actually was not able to classify an accurate tuple, and then it is going to try to increase the samples work on it. Increase the samples, work on it till I get my impurity index as the least, and it is going to go till the end of my estimators, the number of the estimators that I'm going to specify. So we are going to repeat the steps 2 to 5 till the number of estimator, and finally we come to the last step, that is the forest prediction. Now let us assume I have my one data that I want to predict, and the way I do it, so I'll actually divide. So I will in the end have forest. So let's say this forest is considered for n estimators, where on the left the forest that you can see is for good cars, which is true values, and on the right it is for bad cars, and each and every single time I will have a different significance value with each and every tree. These are just random, okay, I haven't calculated those, but the values will be like this. So in the end you are going to take the summation of all of these values. So I first take it for the good car and also take it for the bad car, and I'm going to select the number that is the highest, and I'm going to make the prediction. So let's say a new car comes into picture which has a really good mileage, good suspension, and has a sleek design. So my prediction is obviously going to be true. So in the similar fashion, those predictions will be calculated for both of the steps, for being a good and being a bad car, and the summation is going to be taken and the highest value will be selected. So this is the way the AdaBoost works. Alright, might sound difficult in the first place, but when you actually try to revisit the video, it is going to be very much easy. And now let me show you the implementation. And here we are with the implementation. So I have taken Iris in order to showcase what really the AdaBoost is. So in the first place, I am importing the pandas. I am loading the Iris dataset. So Iris is a flower dataset. Then I load it with the data variable. Then I create data frames where I am taking data.data with the columns of the features name, which are sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. Then I also make a series that is a single vector, okay, one column with the data as the targets. So these targets are Setosa, versicolor, and virginica, which are 3 types of flowers of the iris species, and the name I have given is target. Then I try to see what my really the data is, and now we can move on. So I'm not going to waste much more time in the other details like I do in each and every single of the videos, which is splitting and performing some reprocessing and stuff, feature scaling, etc. I'm not going to do that. Let us directly move on with the AdaBoost. So I'll say from sklearn.ensemble import AdaBoost. Alright, and now I'll say model is equal to AdaBoost classifier, and here you can actually specify the parameters. So there are a lot of parameters. So it actually asks for base estimators. So these are the base weak learners. Then it also selects the number of estimators. So by default it is 50. I can say, let's say n estimators is equal to, let's say 100. Alright, so we want 100 stumps. Similarly, you can actually perform a lot of things on this. Okay, you can tune the hyperparameters the way you want. I'm not going to cover much parameters in this tutorial. So now the next step is obviously model.fit, which is going to take my x and y, and I have it. Okay, my model has been done. And finally I can say model.score, where I'm going to say x comma y. So it is 97%, not bad, I would say. And now I want to predict something. So I'll say ypred is equal to, I'll say model.predict, where I'm going to feed some values. Alright, so let me select the first values itself. I'm not going to do much, and I have it. Okay, and now I can say ypred. So it is going to say 0. And now if I say y with the first value, alright, so I'll say y.loc with the 0th value, and it is 0. So we have the right prediction. So this is the way it works. Alright, very simple implementation when it comes to scikit. So now the presentation for this tutorial will be available along with this notebook to you in the description box below. Alright, and you might have to revisit the video if you haven't understood, because there are a lot of steps. Please do that. Okay, it is just fine. So I hope you might have learned something or the other from this tutorial, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do subscribe and click on the bell icon so that you can get updated every time whenever I post something new. So this is it for this tutorial. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.